Hello, and welcome to another fabulous episode of Jews with the News. I'm Eli,
I'm Jack.
and we have an amazing episode today. This is one of my personal favorites, honestly. I'm really excited for this. But Jack, what do you think?
I'm excited. I think it's gonna be really good. We'll see how it plays out. Hopefully, it lives up to our expectations.
Exactly.
Before we get started with the actual episode, I saw recently that the Democratic National Committee said who they are, like who's going to be speaking at like the convention. And I think the name that most interested me was John Kasich. John Kasich.
Yeah,
I don't
John
know.
Kasich.
John Kasich. I don't know how to pronounce his name, but for those of you who don't know, he ran for president in 2016 as a Republican. He's still a Republican. He's an Ohio governor.
Hmm.
Yeah, and he is a Republican, pretty big Republican, and he's speaking at the Democratic National Convention, which is interesting. What's your thoughts, Eli?
Well, I think it's weird, right? Because in 2016, no one really thought of him as like a Republican because he was like the last Republican to drop out before, before President Trump was nominated, right? So everyone saw Trump and then they looked at Kasich and then they compared Kasich to Trump and was like, oh, well, Kasich's not that bad, right? But then when Trump came into office and Kasich became governor and started to make like some pretty bad decisions, right? Like not only like with how he handled the coronavirus, but like, or I don't know about that, but also like healthcare. He's passed like numerous laws denying healthcare to its citizens and things like that, like Medicare, Medicaid. And so I think it's just surprising how Democrats kind of want to align themselves with that type of personality.
Yeah, I think it's more as opposed to aligning themselves with somebody like this. I think I'm reading it as more of a sign of unity just against Trump. Like, I think Kasich is doing it to show that Republicans don't have to vote for Trump because he's Republican. And I think the Democrats are showing this to show that they're working to, get rid of Trump. But I do think that it kind of defeats the purpose of a Democratic National Convention in a way. I get the point, but it kind of just undermines, the whole ultimate goal is to, pass legislation that could be good for the Democratic Party.
Right, especially when like one of the most important parts is like outlining what your platform is and then having one of your guest speakers being someone who like doesn't support most of the things on that platform. Right.
Right.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's introduce our guest. He's an amazing human being. His name is Josh. Josh, do you want to go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, sure. Hi, I'm Josh. I'm just a tall Jew. Um, long time fan and listener of this podcast. I listen to every episode as soon as they come out.
Thank you.
And
We appreciate the 5 of you out there.
Yeah.
And I'm so it's such a big accomplishment in my life to have made it onto the podcast. Living my dream.
Yeah, and life lesson to the other 4 of you out there who are regular viewers. If you want to be on the podcast and you're feeling like, oh darn, too bad they haven't reached out to me yet. Josh actually reached out to us and we said, oh my goodness, we would absolutely love to have you on this show. I mean, it's one of our favorite things getting requests. So if you want to be on the show, please just ask one of us, email, text, anything. Comment down below.
So, Josh, being an avid fan, I've heard you have some things you want to talk about, this podcast, trying to make this like a meta episode.
A little bit, yeah. So I will say, at the time of recording, there's only the first 7 episodes out.
There will be only 7.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're up next.
Oh man. Okay. And I kind of have something to say about each one.
Okay.
But before that, I want to ask you guys, like, how did you start this podcast? Like, how did you get from, like, I don't know, this random idea to actually doing it?
I think I'm gonna explain my side of the story and see if it lines up with Eli's. But this is something we've like joked about since like we knew each other in like middle school. Like we were like, oh, what if we like became famous like doing a podcast or whatever? And of course we're not famous, but you know, eventually that's the ultimate goal. But I think in January we started talking about like actually like buckling down and like you know like maybe if we wanted to do it like then was gonna be that was gonna be the time. Like we took too long to like start it up, and if we were going to do it, it was going to be now or never. And then we ended up we kept pushing it back and pushing it back, and then Corona happened, and we pushed it back even more. And then eventually, like we were bored enough to where we just said, "Screw it, let's just do it without even preparing at all, and just like have fun with it." And that's what I think it's turned into. It's just us having fun.
Yeah, and I think part of it too is like, especially like when at first Corona hit, like every celebrity was starting like a podcast or like a Zoom like thing and posting it on YouTube. And like we watched a lot of them and none of them were funny, but they were all getting like millions of views. So we thought, if we could do one and people actually like think it was funny, like we might actually be able to get somewhere with this idea that we've had. So that's kind of where it started for me.
Yeah, you guys are pretty much celebrities.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm sure the millions of views will just come in any
Exactly.
day now.
Well,
Just
as
one
soon as
day.
like we get John Krasinski's endorsement, like,
um, yeah. Okay. So I have notes here for every single episode.
Go for it.
Trust me, I wrote a lot.
Oh no. Should we be nervous?
Probably.
okay,
So we'll just go episode by episode. So the first one, I feel like you guys, you've set a good tone, but like the first two, it wasn't quite there yet. It needed a little bit of polish, and I think you really found it by the third episode. But I'm skipping ahead. So the second episode, you're talking about conspiracies. You're talking about media. These are some heavy hitting topics. And Eli, I'm sorry, but you are a lizard person. You won't be able to convince me that you're not a lizard person if lizard people are real.
as soon as I read it, I knew I must be. It's crazy. I need to find out where the meetings are now.
So then episode 3, I feel like it really, you guys found your stride. You were looking good. You're doing great. Cassie is a genius as far as food and juice, like adding potatoes to Taco Bell. That's a genius move. Like that is, I don't know. It's just like it brings everything up.
Yeah, we think so too.
And then adding sparkling water to juice, once again, brilliant. Brilliant. I do that too from time to time. It's just a great thing to do.
Cassie's really an innovator.
Yeah.
Yeah. Episode 4, you bring in Antonio. That's my boy. I love him. I doubt he'll ever go vegan, like all the way. He might be like an in-house vegan, but he'll like go out and have like a steak every once in a while. That's just my take. I don't know.
Dang. Some shades being thrown.
I love Antonio. Episode 5, you bring on Leaf. Once again, another one of my boys. You talked about Catan. The best resource is brick.
False.
It's
Really?
brick, not tactically, but brick represents civilization. It represents progress. It's just the best resource.
That was my problem with the argument, is that you guys weren't Eli and Leaf weren't thinking like tactically in the game. Like in the game, the most important is wheat, therefore it's the best.
Okay,
I was
but
frustrated.
Oh no.
all right. Well, I don't know about you, but I've been a big fan of. I think that one of the most important parts of the conversation we were having about Catan was that we were talking about it as a whole, not just how it was used in the game, but also the style, what it represents. And there, I think the obvious answer is rock, no question.
Well, I'll try not to bring it up again. It's a very heated debate. Episode 6, you brought on Jackson. You talked about religion, and that's a pretty personal topic. And I feel like I learned a lot about both of you and your own perspectives on life.
Well, thank you.
That was the goal. So
Yeah.
it's a good thing.
And then episode 7, Ayush, one of my favorite people to listen to, right? I feel like he always has great things to say, and he says it in amazing ways. He's very succinct. I
Oh,
love.
and you thought, yeah, we liked that episode too. I thought there was gonna be a but for a second.
I mean, he has his own podcast that I also listen to as soon as they come out. I just have a lot of time on my hands.
Yeah, we're trying to do it. We're trying to do a mashup, and in the coming weeks, we actually are going to be releasing an episode with Donovan, who also does a podcast with.
Whoa!
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh! Can't wait.
Yeah, it's going to be
great.
exciting. So let me ask you, Josh, real
Yes.
quick. If you had to choose a favorite and least favorite episode, which one would those be?
Oh no. My least favorite, I hate to do this to Jeremy, but episode 2 is my least favorite. Just because I don't think conspiracy theories are that fun.
Interesting.
That's just a personal preference.
Yeah.
And your favorite?
I don't know if I can do it. I don't know if I can do a favorite.
You don't know if you can do what about favorites?
Cassie, definitely a favorite, just based on the topics.
Yeah, we loved that episode.
I'll just stop there. That was my favorite.
All right. We loved all those episodes, by the way. But yeah, Cassie's episode was the only one where we used the screen share option on Zoom.
Yeah,
so
that might have been it.
Yeah, that was a view.
That put it over the top.
That put over the top.
just a whole new level. Yeah,
a whole new level.
But let's definitely not do that now, because that's a lot of work.
Yes. Yeah. Okay, so I actually love that. I think all of our episodes are.
What's your favorite and least favorite episode?
That's a really good question too. I think my least favorite one is probably I'm gonna say the first one, just because I don't think we knew what we were talking about. We kind of created the topics like 5 minutes before we recorded. So I don't think we like had a whole lot of right, like literally 5 minutes before, like Jack texted me and was like, "Hey, we're gonna switch this segment out for this segment out," and I was like, "Cool." So that's probably one of them. But don't worry, because we will have a chance to do another episode where it's just going to be the two of us at some point in the future. So that's going to be better. My favorite episode. Oh, that's really tough. I think I want to go with Antonio on this one. So far, it's been Antonio. I was really surprised by how much I enjoyed that episode. I did not have like high expectations going into it, and then Antonio's a lively conversationalist. We had a conversation that I really enjoyed talking about. I thought all in all made for a really good episode. Jack, what about you?
I agree that I think my least favorite is the first one. I think it was the one we were most unprepared for, and it just started off. We were just getting used to our new jobs and stuff. So like I think it's respectable to say that was the less of the quality of episodes. I would say my favorite is the Jackson episode. I think personally, I think the conversations that we had in that episode, I think was the most like thoughtful. And I think it provided me like I think it was just the deepest we've ever gone on specific topics, even with the Oreo thing. Like we went pretty deep into that. So like I just found it extremely like I just found the conversations extremely thorough and thought out.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, yeah, this has been an amazing trip down memory lane. Josh, final words. Is there anything that you have to say? Any suggestions for the future? Things we should try and copy that you really liked in the past?
Oh man, honestly, your personalities pretty much carry the podcast. But I love all the guests. So if you keep bringing on interesting people, um, a lot of these people I kind of knew. Um, some of them were like really close friends of mine. Some of them I like didn't really know that well, but they were always interesting. You guys have some good contacts, some great personalities to
We're
bring
running out of interesting people.
Yeah,
in.
that's
We
why
got
we
no
said
one
please
left.
comment down below if you want to be on. But yeah, okay, let's move on from this amazing conversation to one about another segment that we talk about fairly frequently, I'd say, on the show, which is sports. But we're gonna have an interesting twist on this, right, Jack?
Uh, I think so. We're not going to talk about, football or basketball. We each have a sport we'd like to share with the world that, might not be as well known and is kind of ridiculous in a way.
Yeah.
Josh, would you like to go first?
Oh man. Okay. Um, so I have a personal connection to this sport. Early in the coronavirus, all of the like American sports were shutting down. But in Australia, at about 1 a.m. to about 4 a.m., you could catch Aussie rules football. You get some Australian football live in America, and it was the only sport that was still happening. So I don't know how familiar you guys are with Australian football.
Not at all.
Not very.
Um, but it's here. I'll do my best to explain it. So it's on like an oval field that is like massive. It's like a football field and a half, like long and wide. Um, there are 18 players on each team, and you try to score in these massive goals that are just like four posts at the end of the field that just go straight up. And there are three ways to move the ball, which is like a rugby ball, like a big football in egg shape. You can run with it and bounce it every like 15 yards or something. It's kind of an arbitrary bounce rule, but you have to bounce it. Or you can punch it to a teammate, or you can kick it. And those are like the three ways you can move the ball. And eventually you get it downfield. Um, and in order to score, you have to put it between these posts. So there are two like outer goals and one big inner goal. And if you get it through the middle, that's 6 points, and then the outer ones are 1 point. And it's 4 quarters of 20 minutes, and it's really fast paced. It's kind of like the movement reminds me of soccer, but there's a lot of punting going on. And if you kick the ball, you punt it up in the air, your teammate catches it. They have like they can like continue the play unimpeded. Like the play stops for a second if they want, and the other team has to like let them do what they want to do. So you get a lot of like contact with people like going up for balls, and you can jump on other people to try to catch the ball first. Um, and then there's a lot of like running, like soccer. So it's a really fun sport, but you can only catch it live at like 2 a.m.
Josh,
So
do you have a favorite team?
so I was in New York City. I I was on this trip. We went into this bar at night, um, and there was this Australian guy, and we struck up conversation. And we were talking about America, we were talking about Australia, and we brought up Australian football. And he told me that I need to root for the Carlton Blues. So because this guy in New York City told me that, that is my favorite AFL team, the Carlton Blues, and I don't know anything about them other than they're my favorite team.
Nice.
Amazing. All right, my sport that I want to share with the world, which some of you may have heard of before, is Major League Eating. So it's what it sounds. It's food competition, and what I like about it is a lot of people only know one guy. His name is Joey Chestnut, and he wins the hot dog eating contest year after year. I mean, he breaks record after record after record, right? Like 80 something hot dogs in 10 minutes. Like it's crazy, and that's because he prepares a lot to win the hot dog specific eating challenges. But what people don't know is that there is a very heated rivalry between Joey Chestnut and this person named Jeffrey Esper in all the competitions outside of the Nathan's hot dog eating contest that happens on July 4th. It's always so close. Like there was this one like taco eating championship where Jeffrey Esper won last year, but Joey Chestnut won the year before, and then Jeffrey Esper won by like one taco. Like there's just so much drama that no one knows about that you only are aware of if you truly are a fan of the sport. So yeah, that's my sport I want to share.
The sport that I would like to share is a sport called buzkashi. For those of you who don't know, in Persian, buzkashi means goat pulling. It is the national sport of Afghanistan. And basically, in a nutshell, you got two teams, and each player is on horseback, and they try to grab and throw a dead goat carcass into like a hole, like a big like goal type deal, which is kind of like a hole, and you just like throw it in. It's got like walls around it, so like it can like it's like a basket type deal. So like if you hit like the rim or whatever and it bounces out, then you don't get the goal. You have
With
to
the
like
dead
go
goat
in.
carcass.
And if you the goat carcass.
Mm-hmm.
If you've ever watched it, it's pretty violent. Like people get thrown off their horses, people run into people with horses. Like you have to stay on your horse at all times. So, like you're not allowed to touch the goat carcass unless you're on the horse. And like when you try to like throw the goat carcass into the basket, I've seen people like also like fly off the horse at the same time and also go into the basket. It's an extreme tactic, but it works if you both land in. It's a very like entertaining game to watch, and it's kind of interesting because it's like polo, but in basketball put together. It's pretty cool. It's pretty cool.
All right, yeah. I heard they're trying to get into the Olympics, right?
Oh, I think so.
Yeah.
So instead of a ball, it's a goat.
Yeah, it's a dead goat.
Great.
Great. Okay, so all of you should go into YouTube and search all of those sports immediately. Maybe not Buzkashi. I'm afraid what you'll find if you type
No,
in
this match is pretty
Buzkashi.
cool on YouTube. It's pretty cool.
All right.
They're still playing Australian football. There was a game last night at like 3:30.
Who won?
I was thinking of watching it, but then I decided against it because it was at 3:30.
Yeah, that's fair. All right, yeah, so definitely look up those things on YouTube after you're done watching all of our episodes, of course. And let's move on to our next topic. Jack, do you know how many amendments we have in the United States?
I believe there's 27.
There's 27 amendments in the United States. Now, I think when you have 27 of something, there's bound to be good and bad between the two. So I think it's time we go around and talk about our favorite and least favorite amendments to the United States of America. Jack, would you like to go first?
I would love to. So I took a little more unconventional approach to this topic. I think for those of you who like really know me, you're gonna know what my least favorite amendment is. So I'll start with my favorite. My favorite, I think, is the 24th Amendment. For those of you who don't know what the 24th Amendment is, it's the amendment where they abolished the poll tax. So it's you now can like vote without having to like pay money. And I really like this because like that poll tax was extremely discriminatory, especially against African Americans. And I think when they got rid of it, it kind of just made, you know, our democracy or democratic republic just even better and stronger and more unified. I'm not a big fan of the poll tax, so I'm glad they got rid of it. And then my least favorite is the Third Amendment. For those of you who don't know what the Third Amendment is, it's you don't have to quarter troops if you're told to. Like you can like say that you don't have to stay there. And the reason why I don't like it is because I honestly believe that we should be forced to quarter troops. I think it's important for troops to see who they're protecting. And the only way they can do that is to quarter them. So I say repeal the Third Amendment.
No. Okay. I mean, those of us who know you well, I mean, know you've had that opinion forever. And I'm glad to see you're sticking with it still to this day. Okay. My personal favorite is going to be the 26th Amendment. Now, those of you who don't know what the 26th Amendment does, it lowered the voting age from 21 to 18. And I thought that was really cool because everyone just decided that 21 was like the age where like you do everything. And then people were like, no, why 21? Why not 18? And they were like, good point. And then they made it 18. And that was crazy. That was just like insane. And now we can vote. Like, think about all that responsibility you and I now hold because of that one amendment, which is like crazy cool. And then my least favorite is going to be the 27th Amendment. And that's just because that's like a really boring amendment. Like that does not deserve to be an amendment. For those of you who don't know what the 27th Amendment is, neither do I fully. It's like weird. It's about like how senators and like congressmen and women get paid. And like that doesn't deserve to be an amendment, does it? Like
it's saying that senators and representatives can't change their own salary while in office. So
yeah,
it's like if they pass like a bill or whatever that changes the salary, it takes place like after the next election.
yeah. So like I don't have any problems with like what it says, but like think about all the amazing amendment. Like every single amendment has been this very like grand thing to have happen. And then like the most recent one that happened was just like, oh, you can't pay yourselves. Like that's dumb. Like sign an executive order.
Or am I up?
Yeah, it's your turn.
Okay, my favorite one, definitely the funniest, is the 21st Amendment. And all that one does is said the 18th Amendment was a bad idea. We're getting rid of that amendment with this amendment. So that's prohibition. 18th marks the beginning and 21st marks the end. And I just think it's hilarious that they were like, maybe that was a bad idea. I don't know. Uh, they were just like, that 18th one, we can't just get rid of it. We have to make a new amendment telling you to ignore it.
Yeah.
Just pretend you didn't see that. My least favorite. Uh, it might be the 23rd, which gives like the District of Columbia votes, and I just think that they just shouldn't be allowed to vote. In Washington, you go to Washington to be in the government, which serves the people. You don't go to Washington to like have a voice in the government. That doesn't make any sense.
All
So if you
right.
live in DC, just don't vote.
Yeah, I mean, who'd have thought that Jews with the News would be making an anti-DC statehood position by episode 8? We would have thought that would have been much later. But yeah, I love that. No, yeah, for sure. I'm all in. Why not?
Before we finish the episode, there's something we forgot to ask at the beginning. Do you think that a hot dog is a sandwich?
A hot dog is not a sandwich.
Wow.
And frankly, it's pretty offensive that you'd even think it would be a sandwich.
Wow. You know how many people you just attacked with that statement right there? Not even the DC statement, with that statement.
Yeah, exactly.
Probably more people than live in DC.
Exactly. Well, what a great special treat to leave at the very end of the episode for the 5 of you who stick around to for that. Josh, we really appreciated having you on the channel. We love this episode. Hopefully, we can get you back on in a bit.
I will be listening to every single episode until then.
All right. Well, this has been Jews with the News. Thank you so much. Have a good day.
Thank you, and thank you, Daniel.
Yes.
Yes. Thank you, Daniel.
He knows.
He knows. Edits our videos.
All right. See y'all next time.
Thank you so much.